before we know it, winter is going to be here and it is going to be sad and miserable. But I have good news. You can bring your summer flowers into winter with you. Stay tuned and I will show you how. Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny and today I am going to share with you how easy it is to take some of your summer garden into the winter time with you. Because I know if you're like me, it comes to be late December, January especially, because after the Christmas holidays and you take down all your Christmas decorations and your house just seems empty and you're just wishing and dreaming of warm summer days again, we can bring our summer garden into our homes with us even in those times. It is really, really easy. There are some flowers that lend themselves very easily to being dried. Among those are three that we're going to focus on today: hydrangeas, gomphrena, and lavender. Super easy to do. So beside of me, I have an example of some limelights that we have already dried. It's a very simple process. All you have to do is simply cut the hydrangea flower, stick it in a glass with some water, about 1 to 2 inches of water, and then just leave them alone. As the plants suck up the water and the water evaporates over about a week or two, 1 to 2 weeks worth of time, then the hydrangeas will naturally dry themselves. Now, if you're like me, I did not know this little trick a couple years ago, so I cut these gorgeous hydrangeas, and the way that I was always taught to dry flowers was to tie a string around them and hang them upside down. Well, I stuck them in a closet and I went back like 2 weeks later. It was a horrible mess. It was terrible. And this way is actually much, much easier to do. So we're going to show you how to do that with some of our firelights because they have turned red and they are going to be a gorgeous dried flower. We're here at the firelights and you can tell that they have just turned this gorgeous shade of red and pink. So all I'm going to do is come in here and I am going to snip the stem as long as I possibly can. Now, there's not a long stem on this firelight because these are new plants. We just planted these this spring, so they're still really tight and compact. So if I have these dried, they're going to be in a little small vase, not a big tall vase. So you simply cut it, then you remove your leaves like you normally would, and then I just have, as every proper Southern woman has, a good old mason jar, and I'm just going to stick it down in there in the water. Simple as that. Just as if you were making a traditional flower arrangement. Now, you're going to want to find flowers that have the color that you want. So, you're looking for the shape and the color that best suits your purpose. Now, see, this one has a little bit of a longer stem on it. I also think it's really neat if you can see. So, on this side where the sun has shown on the flower, it's red, but look at the back side. It's still creamy white. How cool is that? So we're gonna get these guys, strip them, because you want to get the leaves off. The leaves are not going to dry very well at all. You're just going for blooms, and then we stick that in there. It's as easy as that. So one thing that I have learned from experience when drying the hydrangeas is that you are going to want to arrange your hydrangeas in the vase how you want them to dry. So for example, I have a really large, this is like a quart-sized mason jar right here, and these are short stems. So what I'm probably gonna do is when I go back in the house, I'm gonna get a smaller mason jar and put it in that so they're not quite so crowded, because once the hydrangeas do dry, then they become very kind of fragile and tender. So you want to have like minimal handling on the hydrangeas, because you're going to either damage your blooms or they're going to fall off because they're nice and dry. So you just want to be really careful how you handle them once they're dry, and go ahead, if you can, put them in the vase that you're going to have them dried in, or at least in that same kind of arrangement. Now, I do want to show you a little bit of difference. So obviously this is just in a couple of inches of water, and we're just going to let that water evaporate and let them dry. There is a difference as opposed if you just simply stick them in an empty vase with no water and you let them dry. If you will notice kind of how shriveled the blooms are. I mean, they look like they're dried up. Not very attractive, not very pretty. But then you come over here and you look at this gorgeous bloom, and you can see that the petals are still relatively open and flat, and they still look like a lovely hydrangea. Now, for the most part, your hydrangeas are going to kind of keep the color. They're going to keep the color that they are when you dry them. So these were limelights, and so they had already started to turn a little bit of that limey color, so they're going to keep that color. My firelights already have that pink hue to them, so they're going to keep that pink hue. So they're not going to really change color a whole lot. Now, if you do have like a white one, if you had an Incredible, that pure white, it might turn to like an antique white, but not a real pure white. So just think of that when you're drying your flowers. Next, what we're going to do is some gomphrena, the truffle of pink. This is about the easiest plant and flower to dry that I have ever seen. So you can see up here we have multiple ones dotted throughout the cottage garden, and this is really super simple, guys. You're just going to go in and you are going to cut the flowers. Now, I'm just cutting flowers just like you were doing a regular arrangement, and you just go in and you cut them. Again, you want to cut them as tall as you possibly can. And see, and that one has 2 on there. And you're just going to make a little bunch of flowers, and you're just going to put them in your hand and make an arrangement. Now, there's tons. Whoop, we got butterflies. Look at that. Oh, they love it. This is definitely a pollinator garden for sure. And that is I believe, a hummingbird moth. Look at that thing. Good gracious, have mercy. I think I interrupted his feeding schedule. I think he was going to try to come over here onto the gomphrena, because my goodness, they do love the gomphrena. But yeah, again, you just never know what you're going to find around here. So you're just going to keep cutting and trimming. Again, if you can go to the younger, newer, fresher blooms, then it does really well. Found that some of the older blooms will they will lose, kind of shed as they dry. I mean, that little friend is just happy here. Look at that. I love it. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here all day, because I could sit here all day. But, so you've got your little bunch of your gomphrena. Then, this is how we always have, in my brain at least, have thought of how to dry flowers. So you're going to get some nice twine here. You're going to try to cut it. All right, so I've got my twine, and you're simply going to tie it up into a little loose knot, just big enough, tight enough that your flowers don't fall out. Nothing super fancy. Just a simple little knot. And then you want to make sure you have enough string that they can hang from. So, you can either hang this in the closet, you can hang it in the garage, wherever it is that is a nice dry spot. You're just gonna hang them upside down for about a week, 10 days. You'll know that they're dry because their leaves will be nice and crunchy. They're already very kind of straw-like. It's great. So we actually have in our house some of the gomphrena that we had dried last year, and they're still just as pretty and pink as they were a year ago. But these are great, easy ones to do. They will keep that beautiful pink color forever and just have a great little addition of summertime in your winter house. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, we got one more to do, is the lavender. So if you happen to have some lavender, get all my tools here. So up here in the garden boxes, I have some lavender, and this particular one is the Proven Winners Sweet Romance Lavender. So I'm going to learn from last time, and I'm going to cut my string. This has been our first year growing this, and it has done really well. It is a continuous bloomer. As you can see, we're still in August here, and it is just doing fantastic. So again, you're going to go in and you're going to cut just as if you were doing an arrangement to bring in your house. Of course, the added benefit of the lavender is that it's going to smell so good. Just barely touching this smells absolutely. But much like the gomphrena, it's going to take your lavender. You can make it as big or as small as a clump that you want to. We're going to take it, we're going to tie the string around it, just tight enough so that they don't fall out. And there you go. Again, hang it upside down. Now, where would I hang this? I would hang this in my closet because it's gonna smell like this sweet lavender, and then you walk in your closet and you have this lovely fragrance of lavender in your closet. Very simple, very easy, but yet very effective. And then it'll keep its beautiful purple color throughout the winter. So even in the winter, you can have your lavender right there with you. So I hope you have found this helpful. I hope you have been encouraged by this. And one way to kind of beat the winter doldrums is to take your summer garden into the winter with you with those 3 little simple steps of drying these great summer flowers. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to Gardening with Creekside, and we will see you next time. Bye, friends.